This is the Sage Spey 2 fly reel, and it's Sage's all-new Spey-specific reel. And today, I'm here to review it. That's right, Sage has come out with a brand new Spey reel. And like the first Sage Spey, the Spey 2 has an equally original name. You can thank the marketing department at Sage for that one. This Spey 2 is really fairly similar to the original. But that's actually a good thing, because that was a really good Spey reel, and this one is too, but they've made a few improvements and changes, and overall, this is a really nice package if you're looking for an easy-to-add Spey-specific reel. So let's dive into it, starting with the drag. So the first thing you'll notice when you turn down this drag is how much stopping power it has, and it is absolutely incredible. If you're looking to stop fish fast, this reel will do it. In fact, you could probably use this reel in the salt very easily based solely on that one characteristic. I'd say they definitely took some cues from the Thermo and put it into this Sage Spey 2. It's also got Sage's now standard single turn drag, which the old one had as well, but is a nice feature on the new reel nonetheless. And of course, for the money, you are getting a sealed drag, so like I said, this reel could actually be used in the salt as well. All in all, in terms of drag, this is a really fantastic package. It's got tons of drag, it's easy to adjust, and while I would prefer an extra revolution, I get why people are into the single turn drag. And frankly, it's just got tons of stopping power and more than you'll ever need on your Spey rod. So let's move on and talk about the spool. And we've got a max diameter of 3.9 inches, a width of 1.3 inches, and an arbor size of 2.2 inches. And you'll probably notice that that's actually a relatively small arbor for this size of reel. And that's true. This reel is designed for Spey lines. And in particular, on the box, it's sized for Spey lines. So if you've seen our other video on how to choose a reel for your Spey rod, you want to ignore that if you're buying this reel. This is the 678 size reel, which has enough capacity for a 12 weight single hand rod, but it's right in line with what you'd expect for an 8 weight Spey rod. So if you're buying this Spey 2, the one thing that I would really recommend is buying it for the same size Spey rod. And while that makes it confusing with every other reel on earth, if you're buying a Spey setup from Sage, you can now match your Sage R8 Spey 8 weight to your 8 weight Spey 2. But now let's get back to those spool specs. And overall, I think it's fine. It's definitely more of a mid-arbor reel, and they've done that because you generally don't need absolute max pickup when you're fishing with a Spey rod. But if there's one thing that I don't love, it's that it's got a little bit of extra width. That's not going to be too bad because your running line is so thin. You're not going to have to worry about line piling up until you get well into that Spey head. But it is definitely a wider spool than we're used to seeing these days. In terms of line pickup, you'll be able to pick up line at about 9.5 inches per turn, which is pretty good. And for a reel that's kind of on the smaller size, that's really not too bad. That's going to be about 126 turns for 100 feet of line. In terms of capacities, Sage says that this will hold a 600 grain head with running line and 150 yards of 30-pound backing, and I believe it. We calculated about 300 yards with an 11 weight single hand line, so that feels about right to me. And if I were guessing, Sage is probably being a little bit conservative on that end, so you could probably even fill it a little bit more if you chose to. Up next is weight, and this is not a light reel. It weighs in at about 10.5 ounces, and that's definitely a heavy reel by today's standards. But for a lot of Spey anglers, that's actually a plus. People want a reel that's a little bit heavier to help balance out that rod a bit. Whether or not you agree that a heavier reel is the way to go is up to you. If you've watched our videos, you know that I actually personally prefer lighter reels, although there are situations where having a heavier reel on a Spey rod can make a little bit of sense. This review is brought to you by Trident Travel, which is our new destination travel service where you'll get our expert advice, planning, and guidance at no additional cost. That means no credit card fees, no booking fees, and for a limited time, you'll even earn Trident rewards on your travel bookings. So with every trip you book, you'll be earning valuable points that you can use towards free tackle here at Trident. Recently, we've had some clients go on some absolutely fantastic trips like bone fishing in Belize, steelhead fishing in BC, and tarpon fishing in Belize. So if you're thinking about taking a fly fishing trip, Trident Travel is the way to do it. We've got a ton of great destinations, excellent service, and even more destinations being added every month. Check us out at tridentflyfishing.com/travel. Up next is the sound, and well, take a listen. As you'll notice, this has a fairly muted incoming and outgoing, and there's really no differentiation there. If there's one critique I really have of this reel, is that it could be a lot louder. For Spey anglers, especially in the Pacific Northwest, that love their click pawl reels, this reel is going to be a little bit of a disappointment. It's just not going to give you that hum and that excitement when you do finally hook a steelhead that you'd get from a Hardy Perfect. I would personally love a much more aggressive, louder, outgoing click. That really increases the fun of the reel, and I think something that Sage could do on the Spey 3 version. And last but not least is Ergonomics, and they are really good on this reel. You've got a nice, easy to grasp drag knob here, a handle that is definitely the right size, feels really comfortable. It's also really easy to remove the spool, so if you've got, say, a Scandi setup and a Skagit setup that you'd like to switch around, that's something you'll be able to do fairly easily on this Spey 2. And while we're taking off the spool, let's take a look at this full cage, which is exactly what you'd expect on a dedicated Spey reel. If you like to fish a mono running line, this will really come in handy. And they also have upgraded the look and feel of this reel a little bit. I felt like the original Spey reel felt a little bit plasticky, and they've made some great strides in improving the reel here. This reel feels much more solid. It looks like it has better anodizing. It's just a nicer handling reel overall. I think if you're somebody who has liked Sage reels, but has always shied away from them because of sort of the quality look and feel of them, this reel, at least in this black color, has solved that somewhat. And now let's move on to the elephant in the room, and hold on to your seat, $550, which I think is probably the toughest part of this reel. It is a really great package and does a lot of things really, really well, but $550 for an overseas made reel, even with a great warranty from Sage, still feels like a lot to me. Sage has really put together a great package, and this is one of the very few true dedicated Spey reels out there. But I still think for the money, people are probably going to flock to the Hatches, the Nautiluses, even the Hardy Perfects of the world. And while those reels are a little bit more money, I think the value proposition is there, given that they are made in the US. And let's face it, they are a little bit cooler these days. If you've got one of these Sage Spey 2 reels, let us know what you think about it. Or if you've got the Sage Spey 1, leave us a comment. Tell us if you're going to go out and buy this reel. And of course, if you've got questions, we've got answers. Give us a call at 888-413-5211 or email us 24/7 at support@tridentflyfishing.com. We've got a team of experts ready to help. I'm Ben. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.